7:37. Welcome back to Breakfast. Let's go through the papers again. Joining us this morning back in the studio, Dawn Newsom and Nigel Nelson. Now, there's no surprise the front pages all pretty much have got the same story. And Dawn, let's delve into that. Rish upon a star in the Sun.
See what they did with that headline there. Well, it looks like Rishi Sunak is going to be our new Prime Minister, potentially within the next few hours. And they have done... The Sun's done an interesting piece because they've analysed the campaign that he did when he was running against Liz Truss, which seems like just a few minutes ago, doesn't it? It went on for weeks. That campaign, so how he's handling the campaign now. And he was very, if you remember, it's very slick, wasn't he, Rosie? Had all those it was almost like marketing videos. It's like,
it was too slick.
It was too slick, and that is the problem. So people went off him because of that, because it was almost like, I'm Rishi by me. And now it's much more simple, and I'm Rishi, I mean business. It's kept it very low-key, a very simple message saying, I am actually going to sort things out, and sort of like simple statements, rather than all those marketing videos. So he went back into his childhood as my mum and dad, and
God,
it was like an advertising campaign.
Do you think he thought he'd get this second bite at the apple so soon? Because he's been pretty much silent the last few weeks, being very strategic, and it's all come round far faster than I think most of us thought it would happen.
You can't believe it. It's like that. What was it? Was it Dallas or Disney? I can't remember. Where you were asleep and
it was Dallas.
And it's Dallas and some
Bobby Ewing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yes. I'm older than I look.
It's like suddenly it's like, what have we dreamt all this? Is it actually happening to politics in our country? But no, Rishi, his Twitter campaign, and you've got to remember, a lot of politics is now fought out on social media, which is completely wrong because it's governing the way people are thinking. And it's not what the real people are thinking out on the ground there. But Rishi's Twitter site has been very quiet. The only thing he's tweeted recently is condolences about the Queen. And there's been no political commentary, nothing. He hasn't bad-mouthed anyone, he hasn't said anything good about anyone. It's just been very, very quiet. Now, obviously, with Rishi, you've got all the stuff in the background that sort of like probably didn't help him last time about his wife and being a non-dom and not paying taxes and him still having the green card, all of which has been sorted out now. So he's cleaned out all the skeletons in his wardrobe, well, as far as we know. It's a very business-like campaign. He's really, really taking this seriously.
Well, so he should. There's no more ready for Rishi.
No, exactly. No, I mean,
nonsense.
In a few hours he'll be Prime Minister and he's got a lot on his plate.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Mail reckons the Conservatives are having a midlife crisis, Nigel.
This is Grant Shapps writing in the Mail. Grant Shapps, who actually has gone through so many different sort of incarnations, that he's been a loyal Boris acolyte, he was then a rebel against Liz Truss, he then became a cabinet minister under Liz Truss, and now he's a complete Rishi supporter. In fact, we even used to do, years ago, we used to do paper reviews together. So, so I remember Grant quite well. Anyway, what he's saying now is that it is a midlife crisis, as if the Tories were sort of an ageing businessman going out to buy a Maserati to go and attract young ladies. And he's also having a go
like
at
you know a lot about a midlife crisis here, Nigel.
I'm sorry?
You sound like you know a lot about a midlife crisis here.
I'm planning to have one at some stage, but not yet.
Well, when you get old enough.
I should let you know. Anyway, he also has a swipe at Liz Truss by saying that her mini budget was rather like a teenager being let loose with their parents' credit card. And what he's going on to say is, look, this is
happy enough to take a job offer.
Well, exactly. There's certain hypocrisy about all this. But what he does say is, and I think this is the sort of serious point, is the grown-ups have now taken over, and that probably is about right. You do feel that if Jeremy Hunt stays in place as Chancellor, Rishi Sunak becomes Prime Minister, you probably do have some grown-ups. But he does make the point that the Tories are at the moment drinking the last chance saloon.
Well, at least they're admitting it. I mean, because they're not going to get anywhere unless they admit just how bad the situation is for them.
Well, should we look at the opposition, Dawn?
Yeah.
We heard from Emily Thornberry earlier, and they're making very clear what they want: criticism of the party and also a general election. But in the Times, the perspective here is Keir Starmer taking lessons from Tony Blair.
I've picked this one because obviously everyone is very much rightly focused on our new Prime Minister, but Labour are actually, we talked about Rishi taking things much more seriously now. Labour are also taking things incredibly seriously. Evidently, the shadow cabinet are being given a masterclass in how to govern, and this consists of bespoke 90-minute training sessions for the likes of Angela Rayner, Rachel Reeves, Yvette Cooper, in how to run the country, basically. And it's interesting, isn't it? You'd have thought they might have done this slightly before now, but in any case, they haven't, obviously. And Keir Starmer himself is being given lessons in how to be a PM by Tony Blair and Gordon Brown. I'm not sure if people would find that reassuring or not, but that's what's happening. And Keir Starmer is also actually up the ante with meeting business leaders to win over those people that were terrified by the spectre of Jeremy Corbyn in the Labour Party. But my favourite quote in this particular story, and you know I picked this one out, is from constitutional historian Lord Hennessy, who says, "A government is like sex. You don't know whether you're any good until you've tried it." And then it's all over in a very short space.
All right,
Sorry.
She always has to cross the line, this woman. Behave yourself.
You can be lively, Stephen. Come on.
Oh no! Can we look at stamps? Because I heard this on the radio on the way in. I sort of panicked because I buy stamps at the beginning of the year, but now we've got to get them used by January.
Yeah, we're going to get rid of them, basically, yes. What's happening is that the Royal Mail are bringing in barcoded stamps, and all your old stamps that you might have tucked away in a bottom drawer or something like that, you could have books of them. I know a book of first-class stamps is £11.90. So
really?
Yeah, they're 95p each, and so on the basis of that, if you've got 2 or 3 books that you've forgotten about, that's actually quite a lot of money you've got stored there. Anyway, what you should do is you should get them in before the 31st of January. Christmas stamps will be the same as they normally are, but there's a certain question about what happens after the 31st. The Royal Mail is saying, oh, you should be able to come in and swap them, but we don't know for how long. If these were banknotes, you'd be able to go into a bank and say, look, I've got this pot here, and can you now change this money over? I think the Royal Mail ought to do that. There's a lot of elderly people who've forgotten about postage stamps there, and it could be could mean a lot.
Bob, yeah. I was going to say, well, we'll get them all used up on Christmas cards. If you've got a few left over, use them up on the Christmas cards. But of course, they probably won't get delivered because they're all on strike, aren't they?
There's always that problem too, yes.
So, you do wonder.
You could probably use them to vote in the next Tory party leadership election at some point, which would be
a couple of weeks' time.
Exactly, yeah.
We said earlier we were looking for something a bit lighter. Doctor Who.
I found it.
Tell us more.
Now, don't give anything away, because was it on last night?
It was on last night.
Because I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, haven't you? Have you taped it, or whatever the modern parlance is?
No, I shall stream it.
But there is going to be a return of one Doctor for a few episodes as well.
Do I do the story or not? I mean, sorry, everything's dictated by Stephen.
David Tennant's back, is he?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
so, in any case, most of the papers are covering this story. It's a 90-minute special last night, and I watched it. A huge fan of Doctor Who. John Pertwee was mine. And I watched 90 minutes of it, and it had Cybermen, it had Daleks, it had lots of explosions, it had TARDIS, and it had lots of the previous Doctors, which was brilliant, and previous assistants brought back. And I am completely and absolutely clueless as to what the plot was.
Well, that's
no idea whatsoever.
Did you understand what happened?
No.
But did you still enjoy it just for the sort of spectacle?
I like the Daleks and the Cybermen, and there was one brilliant scene where there was a rah-rah Rasputin scene going on. Sorry, spoiler alert. And the Dalek and the Cybermen looked at each other, gave them that knowing look, and it was very clever lines. It was very funny. It's very worth watching, and if someone would like to explain what the hell happened, apart from David Tennant coming back at the end, then I'd be grateful.
I have to say, I think Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall, the writer, have been a disaster.
it got a
a
bit.
design. And I don't blame her. I don't blame her.
active.
She's can only work with what she's been given. It just hasn't worked as a project.
It got, for me, it got too complicated and
Too woke as well.
Too woke as well. I mean, it got very feminist, which I quite enjoyed up to a point. But it was like, I missed the chalk quarries in Kent.
Yeah.
They used egg boxes for monsters.
Yeah. No, quite right.
Our next story sounds like it could have been from a Doctor Who plotline, Nigel, but NASA are going to launch their most determined alien hunt in world history, spearheaded by a former astronaut.
That's
What's
right.
their plan?
Yes. This is actually quite serious stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about UFOs, but from now on we've got to call them UAPs, which are unidentified aerial phenomena, apparently.
Yes.
Anyway,
that isn't going to take hold, is it?
Oh, Stephen.
US pilots have been seeing these things since 2004. They've had 144 sightings. They've been able to photograph them through their gun sights. And now a team has been set up, a team of 16, along with this astronaut Scott Kelly, who used to be on the International Space Station, to try and find out what is actually going on. So far, they seem to have ruled out this is actually some super technology from China or Russia, but no one knows what it is. And what the pilots describe is suddenly seeing these things and then they just disappear. They go so fast that they...
and against aerodynamic principles.
And again, exactly. And so what NASA want to do is try and get to the bottom of what these things are. Do we really have visitors from outer space, or is it something a bit more pedestrian that they can explain?
Yeah, I don't know. Exciting though,
Isn't it just? Yeah, I'd love to be in a project like that. It'd be fantastic.
I think it's absolutely brilliant, that. I don't know. I mean, even if it's not alien, it'll still be fascinating to know what can do that against all these principles with which we fly and all the rest of it, which these just ignore.
Yeah, and on the basis that these pilots, that they're trained, they know what they're doing, they know what they're seeing, that there is something extraordinary happening in front of their eyes.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Very, very good.
Watch this space.
Yeah, like that.
Oh, God.
Did you do that deliberately? Did you?
Can I say there's some
It was
people who
better
say
than
That's terrible. That's terrible. Honestly. Thank you both. We'll catch up with you a little bit later on, possibly.